welcome to Reunion Gold's live investment summit today, hosted by Six. I'm pleased to introduce our speaker for today, Reunion Gold's interim CEO and exploration manager, Carlos Bertoni. Carlos is going to be reviewing the team's work and achievements throughout this past year, and after, we're going to be taking questions live. Remember that if you do have any questions, please submit them in the Q&A chat right on the right-hand side of your screen at any time during today's presentation. And as always, this event is being recorded and it'll be available on Six.com in the coming days. But Carlos, I want to hand things over to you so that you can get started.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I'm delighted to see you again, talk to our shareholders and our potential shareholders, and report what we accomplished for this year. Show you a disclaimer. Reunion is a group of people that have a lot of experience in this part. We have financial capability, we have know-how, we know how to get things done and deliver resources in Guyana, or what we call the Guyana Shield. We have decades of experience in this region, and we delivered the first industrial scale gold mine in Guyana, what was Omai, 1993. Omai went to production, then we went over to Suriname. We delivered Roosevelt, which is still in production. And now we've discovered the Oko West gold deposit here in Guyana, and we intend to deliver a mineable resource estimate for this deposit next year. And just to remind you where we are, this is the map of the greenstone belts in the Guyana Shield, shown in green. Oko is right here. Oko is this particular spot. I'm going to draw an arrow here. It's well located, not far from Georgetown. The next slide will illustrate the infrastructure we have for this project. We also have things in other projects in French Guiana, Boulanger and Dorlan, and one project in Suriname. I will not be talking about those today. The greenstone belts shown here in green are the locations for all these orogenic type gold deposits. The abundance of this type of rocks is determined how well endowed any region on the planet is for this type of gold deposits. As you can see, Northwest Guyana, this region is very well endowed, large volumes of greenstone type rocks, that is basalt, sediments, intrusives, which are directly related to this gold deposit. This slide shows the location of the project in relation to Georgetown, the capital city here. And the location of the deposit is right here. It's accessible by road. We have our friends from doing the Toropara project, rehabilitating the Kairuni road. This road allows us to have a good access to the project. We are right in the halfways between the watersheds between the Kairuni River and the Mazaruni River. That's an important feature which I'll talk briefly about later. So to develop this project, we don't have to put hundreds of kilometers to the jungle. It's quite accessible, and we have access to Bartkan in both Itabeli. Actually, the water is deep enough. We can have barges and ships coming all the way here. This is the snapshot of the project area in black. This project actually is in our name. This project, this permit, it's a prospecting license, a PL in our name. And the deposit itself is here on the eastern part of the permit, associated with all these geochemical anomalies, those smudges of red and yellow. This is the work that we did. I'm going to talk about in a minute how we discovered this thing. But you notice all these anomalies are at the contact of a granitoid unit, this in pink, and what we call the greenstone sequence here shown in green. It just happens mineralization is concentrated along this contact. The contact is 6 kilometers long from top to bottom, and of which we have two zones, the Kairuni zone and the Takutu zone. Most of the work we've done is here in the Kairuni zone, which has received the bulk of our drilling program, and where the deposit is currently located in this strike length here. Let me continue zooming in on this map. And this has a bit of a history of our project here. We optioned this ground in 2018. 2019, we did geophysics. We started doing geochemical work early in 2020. This work outlined what we call a geochem anomaly, which is this patches of red and yellow and green. That work confirmed there was gold presence in the area, but superficially. Then we need to do trenching. And all these dark lines here, those are our trenches that were done. And we did about 7 kilometers of trenches, and we got some exceptional results. For example, some of these trenches here, we reported, for example, almost 70 meters at 6 grams. These are very good trench results, but of course, those are still superficial, and they're still on the upper 2 meters of the area. We need to demonstrate there was downward continuity of mineralization, and that's why we did a short program early last year, and then we continued trenching. And only after we did our financing in June last year, we started doing very significant drilling program from Q3 last year. So this project, we've been really doing intensive drilling only for 18 months. And we're particularly happy how much we've been delivering on this time frame. This other map shows how many holes we've done and the location of all those black dots are drill holes that have been drilled. The current deposit is what we call on the block 4 area here, this area. This is the bulk of the deposit right now and the center of gravity of the deposit. We continue to do work to the north and to the south, and these red dots here illustrate the drilling program we have ongoing. This program, we currently have a drilling capacity of about 7,000 meters per month, and we want to deploy that capacity to complete the drilling of what we call the Kairuni zone, which is about 2.5 kilometers long from the bottom to the top. This 2.5 kilometers. And we will continue to infill all those gaps, demonstrate mineralization continues at depth. Here to the east, you have the granitoids. To the west, you have mafic volcanics. In the center, we have the sedimentary rocks. These sedimentary rocks, shown in blue, they are the bulk of mineralization in the area. These are the areas that contain most of the gold. And I'll show you in a minute through a section how this gold is distributed on these rocks. This map will give you some statistics. The slide, we've done almost 50,000 meters of diamond drilling and 25,000 meters of reverse circulation drilling. And this is the 2.5 kilometer strike length I was talking about, from here to here. This shades of red and yellow represent where mineralization has been identified and the intensity of mineralization. Of course, this whole system still requires a lot of drilling. Later, I'm going to show you a section along this dashed line here, showing how, when you look sideways like that, how is the distribution of gold along this area. I'm also going to show you a section here in a minute, a cross-section across the center of gravity of the deposit, showing how gold is distributed along these rocks. And here are some outstanding values that we obtained so far, particularly here on block 4. This is what we call block 4. And as I said, it's the center of gravity of this project. So let's look first at the cross-section right through here. That illustrates well how the deposit looks like. We're looking towards the west, towards the north, and west is to the left and east is to the east. And these are the representation of our drill holes, all these lines. And these are the intervals, mineralized intervals, which we have reported. The ones shown in green are from the last press release, and the others in white were reported previously. We already have done some holes, like here 185, in which we have not reported. We have another hole coming right through here to fill this gap, which will be reported as well. This section demonstrates the mineralization is continuous down to a vertical depth of 575 meters. The next slide, I'll show you, this is the mineralized envelope between those dashed red lines. This is essentially forms a deposit. So as you can see, it's a slab of mineralized rocks. And the little picture on the right here gives an idea what the rock looks like. These are sedimentary rocks, siltstones, sandstones, shales that have been thoroughly broken up. Look at the intensity of veining, all this little veinlets cross-cutting each other. So there were several tectonic events that broke this rock, created a lot of space, and the mineralized fluids were able to move in and essentially right through. And this rock became a host rock of all these fluids. And when things cooled down, it left behind quartz veins, like you see here in the picture on the right, containing gold. So you can see that from the scale here, this is up to 100 meters wide. And of course, it starts from the surface, and we have not completed drilling at depth how far this thing goes. As you can see, this is amenable to an open pit kind of mining. I'll just illustrate here. These are theoretical pit walls, these blue lines. We don't know what the angle of those walls will be, exactly where it will be placed, where the foot of that pit will be. That's something that will be determined later. But that's the kind of mining that we would do, extracting this core of mineralized rocks, and of course having to deal with all the waste rocks to each side as well. But another interesting feature here is that what we show here in red, that's the mineralized saprolite. That's fully preserved. This is where the rocks have been weathered. It's like clay-like, and it's mineralized, and that's very conducive to digging by shovels. We hardly need to use any explosives. So it's great for early days when you're mining an open pit, because you can just dig up the stuff and send it to the mill. And the nature has done its job, and the material has been broken down. You just have to dig it, send to the mill. So it's very cheap mining and cheap processing, very low energy requirements for that. So that's another important feature of this deposit. We have over sometimes 100 meters of mineralized material right to the surface. This only happens when you make a discovery, because quite often in this part of the world, this would have already been mined by artisanal miners, and you end up with a hole in the ground full of water. And of course, you're not able to mine what I call the cherry on the cake, this part of the mineralization that is available for you right on the surface. So that's the nature of this thing. Now, if you look at a section right across, we're going to look at a section right across to here, but looking from this direction. That's the next slide. That's what we call the longitudinal section, and that demonstrates how this thing looks as we drill progressively at depth. Our deepest hole here is this one at 575 meters. We want to infill this entire area here. We want to continue drilling through here, drilling to here, and essentially consolidate, infill all this area between those red arrows by drilling. And we're gradually doing that by these holes. These are holes which have been reported. So every 2 months or so, we continue reporting our drill program, infilling this area here. And the price of gold and economic conditions will determine where that pit bottom will be. We don't know yet. Can we mine this thing down to 575 meters? We don't know yet. But we are consistently infilling this whole area with drill holes, and we will be reporting that next year. So that's looking towards the west. And of course, the higher grade parts of the deposit are shown here in this color, lower grades and lower yellow. But we are confident that the gold grades will continue to be strong as we go to the bottom of this project, to this deposit. What else are we doing? It's great to deliver a resource, a deposit, but you have to do all the work that goes along with, in particular, the environmental baseline work. We've completed the dry season, we completed the wet season stages. We're going to continue doing that next year. So all those points shown here in the map, those all the points that have been studied. We're looking at water conditions, we're looking at flora, we're looking at fauna, we're looking at soils. We're doing a full environmental baseline. All these mining projects have an impact, but so this impact needs to be understood in terms of the environmental impact, what can be mitigated, what can be avoided. So you need a full understanding of the project environmentally as you go forward. We're also looking at our community, our neighbors. There just happens that nobody is living within the permit area, but we have neighbors immediately to the north of us, and that's a community of about 200 people. So we set up an outreach program. We have a doctor and 2 nurses, and in partnership with the Ministry of Health of Guyana, we have a malaria outreach program. Malaria has been endemic in the area for decades. This is an old mining camp. So we've diagnosed and treated hundreds of persons in this area. We've saved many lives with this outreach program. So we are very happy with this partnership with the Ministry of Health, and that we see this as our social responsibility to work along with people living in the area, with our neighbors, our stakeholders. So we're very proud what we accomplished on this program as well. And we also been doing some infrastructure studies. We contracted a company called Interim Energies that has some new technology for generating power using rivers without dams and using run-of-river technology. This is an illustration of one of this type of equipment. So that study is going to start in January next year. We're looking how can we generate electrical power for this project without backing up rivers, without destroying the environment. So this, we see that's a very interesting possibility for this project. And so InStream is studying that feasibility study for us. This would reduce the eventual carbon footprint. This would reduce our costs as well. So even though it's early days in this project, we see the need to think holistically and to move things forward and deliver a deposit that can be mineable profitably for our shareholders. So we're very proud to have received the Mines and Money Award this December in London as the Exploration Discovery of the Year. We are proud of this, and of course we're humble as well, knowing how much work still lays ahead of us to demonstrate the mineability of this deposit. But of course, we're happy to have received this award. And I share this award, of course, with our team. We have a team of high-level team of exploration geologists that have been working hard in early, very difficult conditions to deliver this project. So we are very proud of the team, and I just want to ensure I put their names here in recognition of their efforts. And this is not a picture of all of them, but this is the guys, the girls that delivered this project, and they should be sharing the limelight today. So this is in a nutshell what I have to report, and I'll be happy to take on some questions on where we are and where we're heading. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Carlos, for the great presentation. Just as a reminder to everyone in the audience, if you do have questions, please submit them in the Q&A chat found on the right-hand side of your screen at any time during this conversation. But Carlos, first question, are you funded for the work that you want to do?
Yes, we are very fortunate to be fully funded. We have about $49 million in the bank. We're very happy our shareholders helped us in June this year when we raised about $36 million. That gives us the financial conditions to do all the programs, drilling programs, environmental programs, other engineering programs that we need to do going forward. And so that's a particularly comfortable situation to be in right now.
Absolutely. Tony wants to know if you've had similar trench and or saprolite drilling results in other areas outside of the Kairuni zone.
We do have some very encouraging results on the Takutu zones that's immediately to the south. We have not reported those yet. As we go very systematically. As you can see, in a new area, we do soil geochemistry, then we do trenching, then we do drilling. So on the Takutu area, there's 3.5 kilometers to the south of Kairuni. We have some trenches, and we have 2 drill rigs now dedicated to that program. We will announce those results next year. We prefer to announce results, we have to make sense of results. And so we're probably announcing Kairuni results and some Takutu results. And gradually the Takutu results will become more and more voluminous in terms as we advance work in the area. But we have some very good indications so far, and they will be duly reported. Yeah.
Absolutely. Why are you stepping down as an interim CEO?
Yes, it's been a privilege to be the CEO of this company for the last 2 years. It was circumstantial that I took this position. I was an advisor to the company. Our CEO at the time had a health issue. I was invited to step in and also accumulated the position of exploration manager. And it's been, very, very tough work and a lot of dedication in 2 years, and very proud of what we're delivering to our shareholders. But the understanding I've had with the company, this was a 2-year mandate. And I'm happy, and we have been happy to report that Rick Howells is coming in as of January 1st to replace me. He's a mining engineer with extraordinary experience in developing and operating mines. I'm an exploration geologist. I'm the guy that is proud of finding things and delivering things to engineers to move on. And Rick will bring all his experience moving this project forward in terms of all the engineering work that needs to be done, in terms of the holistically looking at this thing and what we need in terms of geotech, what we need in terms of metallurgical work, what we need in terms of preparation for infrastructure for eventually delivering a mineable project. So Rick is very welcome. I will remain as an advisor to the company. I love to continue involved in the projects I've worked on, but we have a very robust team right now. Justin van der Thorn is taking over the exploration side. He's very experienced, knows the terrain, and will do a very capable job of continue to deliver ounces to the project. So we have a team in place, and of course Dave Finau is behind us as a big leader, the guy that keeps pushing things forward. So we looking very much into next year, continue to deliver good news to our shareholders.
Absolutely. And speaking of what's coming next, next question is if this is going to be an open pit or an underground mine?
There'll definitely be an open pit, and that's why right now we're doing studies. We're a group called G Mining from Montreal. We are studying all potential options. As we do resource estimates, we do things what called whittle pits, the simulation of pits, in which you study, given certain economic parameters, how deep could you go with the pit, what will be the pit wall angles and things like that. Of course, that's the kind of mining you want to do in terms of being efficient and economically feasible.
Right. What other engineering disciplines are you working with?
We particularly metallurgical work. We have to demonstrate that you can get gold out of the rocks, simplistically speaking. So that requires a lot of testing, a lot of metallurgical work. And right now we have about 400 samples in the lab doing bottle rolls. And this will be followed up by more sophisticated metallurgical testing, including comminution, column testing, etc., to demonstrate gold contained in the rock is amenable to be extracted economically. So that's a fundamental study. We got to do geotech tests. We need to know for those pit walls what kind of angles can the rock support. We have to do hydrology. We need to understand the behavior or volumes of underground water. So all those studies are starting and will be continued. And of course, with the focus of a mine engineer like Rick, that has developed these things and put them in production, that brings a lot of focus on all this engineering discipline.
Absolutely. Regarding title security, are you waiting for any confirmation on any of your titles?
We have the different types of permits and titles. As far as mining title, we have title, what's called a prospecting license to our name, our local subsidiary, that has been put to rest. That brings us several obligations as title holders, for example. We are working on something called environmental authorization to operate with the Guyana Environmental Protection Agency. As a prospecting licensed title holders, we negotiate an investment agreement with the government of Guyana. We have to negotiate a mineral agreement with the government of Guyana. So receiving this title triggers a number of obligations that we are committed to work with and deliver to our shareholders in the near future. So there's a lot of work, but it's good to be able to say that we are, all the work we're doing is within the title held by ourselves.
Okay, absolutely. Next question is asking when you're going to be publishing your 43-101 technical report.
That will certainly come in next year. Okay? We are targeting at least about 40,000 meters of drilling coming up, and we're fully committed to that. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a capacity now of about 7,000 meters per month. We're going to stop at the end of the year for about a couple of weeks and then continue drilling hard. That's the basis, of course, to define the geometry, the volume of deposit. I would say that we'll certainly be ready by mid next year, okay, to deliver those resources. But we want to deliver something consistent, something sizable, that really represents what the deposit is. So that's why we're not in a particular hurry to do that until we're fully prepared, we're convinced that we've done all the work that needs to be done.
Absolutely. Martin wants to know, what do you think of the recent results from G2 with reunion-style mineralization on the south part of their property? Could the deposit be continuous across the property line?
Of course, the geology doesn't respect the human boundaries. And of course, our neighbors to the north, the G2 Goldfields, they've been doing very good work. They have a deposit. They've announced already a bit over 1 million ounces, what they call Oko Main. And now they've been drilling south of that deposit towards our boundary, with apparently some very encouraging results. Of course, all we know is what has been published in the press releases, but it's encouraging and to see that they have our Oko type mineralization underground. And does not surprise me because, as I said, geology doesn't look at those boundaries. But again, we're looking at a big shear system, north-south, etc. It changes as it goes through each type of geology, etc. And so we're looking forward to see how that shapes up. And we're good neighbors. We keep incentivizing each other to do good work. And we're looking for, we're rooting for their success.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Carlos, I want to thank you for coming on today. And I also want to, of course, thank everyone in the audience for joining us, especially those who've asked questions. But that looks like all the questions we have for today. So I want to pass things back to you before we wrap up for some closing remarks.
Thank you for this opportunity. And my message to our shareholders is thank you very much for your support. And for those that will consider reunion to become our shareholders, I think this is an opportunity that we are proud to present and report on. We are very excited about what we found, and we're looking forward to delivering something very significant next year. Thank you for your attention. I wish you a happy Christmas and a happy New Year, and see you again. Thank you.